So thank you, members of the Metro Council and the Finance Committee. I'm sorry, I'm just getting over the flu, so I'm a little bit hoarse here. But thanks for the opportunity to come in and chat with you about our proposal. It is equal to the proposal that you passed last year with regards to the budget. And just a couple of things as I turn you over to the experts to go through our material. First of all, this is an appropriation for specific services that we conduct for the city with Matt Wilshire in the mayor's office with regards to economic development. You will see a pretty specific list. We are audited by Metro with regards to fulfillment of these services, so there's a direct correlation between the funding and the services that we provide. And these are services that we don't provide to other counties in our regional chamber domain. This is also, as I think you'll see over the history of this support and this appropriation, it's an opportunity for a public-private participation. This funding provides you access to our entire economic development staff and our research staff. So there is large private leverage in this. There is funding for those activities that provides an even expanded access to services by Metro. And then finally, you may remember a couple of years ago, the council approved a $75,000 appropriation, which is part of the $375,000 that is targeted towards specific small business activity. Courtney Ross will talk about our economic development activity, and Chris Cotton, excuse me, that's the cold medication. Chris Cotton will explain the small business activity as well. So thank you, and Courtney, I'll turn it over to you.
Reach this. I believe you all have a packet at your desks, possibly the black folder. If you see that, yes, I think I see a few of those. If you have that, I've got just a little more information if you want to follow along as I go through the details and if you have any questions. But there's a slide deck stapled together inside that black folder. There it is, Councilman Schulman, perfect. That I was going to go through, and I'm on the second page right now. Just wanted to, again, as Ralph said, go through some of the details of the appropriation as it was outlined last year, and as would be laid out again should this be approved. For economic development project management, we serve, as Ralph said, an extension of Matt Wilshire's team, and we have 10 people on our economic development team that handle all RFPs for projects that come in for Davidson County projects. This includes all research, completion of these RFPs, and any information that these companies may ask, whether they're relocating or expanding here and may have questions about workforce, about any kind of information that they have. We have access to our research team for all those requests. We also run all real estate and property searches for these projects. We subscribe to a database called CoStar to where we can pull up any kind of commercial property that they're looking for, and we make sure that as we're populating the database that lives on our database, make sure that all the properties that may be in your district are in there as well. And then on the project management side, also handle all workforce inquiries and all questions that companies may have as they go through the hiring process in Davidson County as they add these jobs in Davidson County. We also lead the economic development or the business retention expansion program for Davidson County. We have a proactive campaign where we meet with companies in Davidson County, talk to them along with Matt about whatever barriers they may have to growth, whatever challenges they may have, and then what other opportunities they would like to explore as they create more jobs in Davidson County. A lot of times this is also a question about talent recruitment and connecting them to universities and making sure that they have the resources that they need to attract the talent that they need in order to grow. We also have started the process of touring all Metro Council districts so that we, again, are sure we know of all commercial real estate opportunities that may be available in your district, so that it's added to our database, make sure that that's in there for opportunities that exist or that present themselves for any companies that want to relocate or expand here. And then in order to continue to keep Nashville top of mind for companies who are looking to move here or expand here, our marketing includes proactive trips to other markets, promoting Nashville as a good place to do business, as well as email campaigns, postcard campaigns, and just continue the relationship that we have with site consultants to continue to fill the pipeline for that activity. Chris is going to talk in more detail about small businesses resources, but the $75,000 of this appropriation goes towards small business programming and resources that I'm going to let Chris talk about. But just one more thing before I turn that over to him is on the next page, some of the results for economic development. In this fiscal year that we're in now that will end at June 30th, there have been 44 companies that have announced relocations and expansions in Davidson County. These companies have announced 3,234 jobs and an investment of $309 million in capital investment. So Nashville is continuing to create jobs and attract jobs, and we're continuing to market that so that we make sure that the pipeline is continue to be full. Of these 44 announcements and of the announced jobs, there's 62% of all projects that have announced in the region have landed or have announced in Davidson County, and 42% of all jobs that have been announced have also been announced in Davidson County. So now I'm going to turn it over to Chris for some small business, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. In terms of our small business efforts, this one works, don't worry. In terms of our small business efforts, we're focused on supporting established small businesses within our community, and also programming and resources for business owners as well as their key employees. So that's something that differentiates this program versus others in the community. We do this for a number of reasons, two of which are there's a lot of great resources for startups within the community. Small Business Development Center, Entrepreneur Center, several universities. The list goes on. There's a lot in terms of startups, but once you get past that 2-year mark, there's not a whole lot that's really focused on those types of businesses. And quite frankly, that's the majority of business that's out there. So from a national perspective, 80% of businesses have been in business more than 2 years. So that's why we focus on established small businesses within the area. I'll also point out you've got 3 additional handouts outside of that deck. So the first one is a sample newsletter, looks like this. The other one is a small marketing piece with some program specifics for Scale Up. And then the other one is a zip code map of participants for both Business Studio and Scale Up. Business Studio, as Courtney mentioned earlier, is free or low-cost workshops, events, programming, focused specifically on Nashville's small business community. We've also leveraged Metro's investment to establish Scale Up Nashville, which is funded by the Small Business Administration. That's a 6-month program, cohort-based training and mentoring for local small businesses. Some of the highlights that are within the deck, and then also a few more just to throw at you. Both programs are very Davidson-centric. If you guys are looking at the map, you should be able to see that. About 2/3 of the Business Studio participants are located within Davidson County. Nearly 80% of the Scale Up participants are located within Davidson County. Overall, more than 44% of Scale Up participants are minority-owned business owners, which compares to just under 30% for Davidson County as a whole. Over half of Scale Up participants are located within a historically underutilized business zone, and 49% of Business Studio workshop presenters were female. What's next for Business Studio and Scale Up in the year ahead? Workshop programming will continue, as well as the development of more online resources for small businesses, and recruitment for the 5th cohort of Scale Up begins this summer, starting this fall. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Did you have more to say before we open some questions? Okay, fabulous. First of all, thank you, Chair, for allowing me to take your seat for a bit. And as the Chair of the Tourism Conventions committee. We know that our people come to our city because of entertainment, and then we put magnets in their pockets and they want to come back. So sometimes that happens. I noticed that on the map, I'm a big small business fan, as you know, and I know that there are a number of different initiatives regarding Chamber East, Chamber West, Chamber Midtown. And I know that personally that those have been extremely effective in regard to networking, but also in strengthening the ability for the chamber to be able to communicate additional services that are available. I noticed on the map as a District 8 council member, and speaking on behalf of those of us in the Northeast Corridor, that I'm not seeing a lot of activity up there. So I'm wondering, and I'd mentioned to you, I think about a year ago, about the idea of doing a chamber Northeast or something that would facilitate some more, and I don't know whether or not that was already in the works or if what the plans were in regard to championing that program.
I'm not aware of anything particularly for that area. This is just a slice of the programming too, so this was very specific to the workshop programming, so it's not even including the Chamber East initiatives and things like that.
Well, I look forward to talking more about that, and I'll yield the microphone since there's other people that have questions. And we'll go with Mr. Glover.
Thank you, Chair. Ralph, let's go back to, you and I have known each other for, I think, 2 or 3 years now, right? Somewhere in that range?
Somewhere close to that.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to prior to me going on the board. We had the conversation, the school board, we had the conversation that by the time we hit 2019, we'd have a deficit on the high-tech jobs here in Nashville. Obviously, the chamber has been extremely active in helping to expand the academies, other things within our schools, looking at the colleges. Where are we on that particular issue? If you can give me an idea, please, sir.
Well, I'm happy to answer the question, but that is not a part of this particular appropriation.
Well, it actually may be. That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay. Well, the academies have been strongly successful.
Well, I'm talking about the high-tech jobs specifically. Where are we on that?
Well, we're still operating at a big deficit as a community, but a lot of attention is being paid to technology and STEM type education. Even in the academies, there's a strong tech component to that academy's learning. We're also working with organizations like the Tech Council to help build more certifications coming out of high school so that people can actually go to work with entry-level tech jobs. But there's still a big deficit.
Okay, so here's where I'm going. You guys have been flat on what your request has been with us, 300, then 375, 375, and it's flat. I think it's pretty safe to say, and I'll ask Mr. Wilshire if he would chime in on this one as well, please, Matt. I think the dollar that we invest on this we literally are putting pennies towards the dollars we get back in return, if even we're getting to pennies. We were listening earlier today where we're going to be giving money to some of the entertainment industry that hopefully will help expand people coming into the city. What can we do? Because, again, I believe in what you guys do. I mean, $375,000 for 10 positions and all the work you guys do and all the things you do with Mr. Wilshire, pennies on the dollars. What else? What are we missing, Ralph, that we could be doing better, and how do we accommodate that, or how do we address it in this budget in order to help us move along to where we continue keeping ourselves moving in a positive manner in this city?
Well, that's a great question, and I'll answer it very broadly. Happy to get into specifics with anyone that would like to do that later. We know that economic development, that jobs grow and prosperity grows when workforce is available. So the idea of retaining citizens well qualified to do that work in migrating citizens is helping us grow prosperity. At the end of the day, the starting point is having a great community, a place that people want to live in. The two biggest challenges to that right now are education and transit and mobility. If we can resolve those issues, we're going to have a pretty strong position in the economy for the next 20 to 50 years. So we're not really missing anything, but we are not achieving the level of performance that we need in those two critical categories. It's going to help on affordability issues. It's going to help on health culture issues. Those two things will help us to the greatest extent.
Okay, so Chair, and I'll finish with this question. The one thing I would like for us to discuss, I think we're going to be talking about tomorrow night, is kind of where have we been, where are we going, what do we think? I really would like to, because every year Ralph asks the same question, and every year you come back at 375. I'm trying to figure out how do we go to the next level and do the things that we need to do, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. I just really would like to delve a little deeper into it to figure out how we work collectively, perhaps more aggressively.
We would love to have that conversation, but we also appreciate the support that you deliver to other organizations that are doing parts of that work.
Yep.
It's a real collaborative, partnered process.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Sharon Hurt.
Thank you very much. I don't have a question, but I'm so surprised that, you know, I think you listened to some of the things I said, Ralph, because that scale up is upscale.
All right.
And I'm really, really pleased with the things that you've done with that program. It really has brought more into the community of small businesses, and I'm just looking forward to see what Chris does with it and how it grows and really help change lives of people. Thank you.
May I make a comment, Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
It's great to have the Metro Council and your encouragement to establish these small business services, because there really was a gap in this area. Business Studio serves a real purpose for kind of a large population, but Scale Up really does fill a gap that exists for businesses that want to grow jobs, grow the size of their business, grow their reach, and they don't have access to the kind of expertise that they need to be able to do that. And it was because of the council initiative on small business that the SBA was willing to be supportive of Scale Up here. So thank you for that support. They have done the work well. Thank you.
And our own entrepreneur in the House, Mr. Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I know you have lots of experience in that as well. I just want to say a quick thank you. I won't let others ask any questions, but the ECD stuff you guys do is so vital to what we're doing out of Matt's office. We need them both. I think y'all work great hand in hand. We get a great value, as Councilman Glover said. We have to have it. Consider the small business stuff kind of a great bonus that we're able to do as part of what we're funding with you guys. I thought I heard you say something about we can see parcels or commercial real estate in our areas. Is that a website or just in a database somewhere?
So the part of what I said was we subscribe to CoStar, which is a subscription database, which we have. But then we also participate in something through TVA called TVA Sites, and that is something that we populate from our office. So it scrapes from the CoStars and Xceligent, the other databases for business, commercial real estate. But then we're also, if for some reason that is not in CoStar, we can manually add that from our office, and we do every Friday. We make those additions to the website, and then therefore, when a company is looking, we search that database, knowing that we've included everything from your district, from anything that that may be coming online that is not populated in CoStar. So there's two databases that we pull from. One is through TVA Sites, and the other one is CoStar, which is nationally.
And is it all just internal for your purposes to send to them, or is it something we can look at some point, kind of a report or something?
It's a little tricky because it scrapes from CoStar and Xceligent. There's some licensing issues for putting it on our website, but I'm happy to figure out a way for you all we'll figure out how to search that. It just is because it's scraping from the national database, there's licensing agreements for putting it on our website.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get any information we can, and I know certainly Gallatin Road is our main corridor where I am, but then also I know in Madison we've been trying to do a lot of these ECD efforts, and we've got a lot of parcels that are could have something happen up there and could afford to have something happen. So I'll end at that, and also looking forward to working with you guys on transit opportunities in the future, not related to this small budget that we provide for you, but just in general, our work together, I think we got a lot of good work ahead of us, and we're going to do great. So thank you.
Fabulous. Jacoby Adele.
Thank you. I probably asked the same questions for the last 6 years, and so I want to say that I do appreciate the work that you do. I see more interest in the areas that have been left out outside of downtown, and I'm sure it's because there's nothing left to build downtown, so that's why Southeast and other areas are getting a little bit of attention, because we have some trees left out there. So, but what I wanted to talk with you about, and I've asked this last year, in fact, when I got in office, I came and spoke with you about starting a merchants chamber, and I know I'm going to keep bringing this up. I appreciate the small business that you're doing, but we're still leaving a targeted segment of business owners behind, and I do believe that they need help. I would say a good percentage of the calls that I receive are from people that have franchises, people that have small businesses, and they need help. And especially, I talk about this all the time, in our area we have a lot of small immigrant-owned businesses. They're new first-time business owners. They don't understand our codes, laws, and maintaining the exterior and the facade of their building so that it looks nice and that it enhances the area. And I've gone out, picked out paint, told them about different rules, about all sorts of things. And I really do believe that we are missing opportunity to work with them, because what we do know from everything I've read is that small little mom and pops are going to be the one that are going to, in the future, employ most of our people, not these big mega companies. And so the quicker we start working with them and growing them, they can become a big company. So I do want to see some type of effort. You have a $4.2 million, and we're just giving you $375,000. So I don't see why we can't allocate a little bit of a resource over toward coming up with some type of program to work with them. The second thing is, I wanted to talk about is, I get a lot of calls from even some of our big investors about putting together decks for them, and I think I've done probably 4 or 5 about our community. And this is something that I would like for you all to do. And it's not just, I'll give you an example. I put together one for the Old Century development when they brought in a client looking for 100,000 square feet of space. They wanted to know like some crime data. They wanted to know what recent happenings in the community. So I have like a little timeline of different things we brought into the area and growth and so forth. And so I constantly get those requests. And, I think that's something that I would like to see, some funding. If you can't deal with the 375, should we chip in another 5,000 so you can have somebody do that? So when I have someone to call and ask for that, I can direct them to you, and you can put that information together and send it out to them in a timely fashion. And then my last thing is policy. So the Merchant Chamber, a resource for these small businesses and franchises and these type of people that typically you don't deal with, somebody to help them. And then my third thing is policy. I was really disappointed that to get a letter sent regarding a housing issue that I had out in my district. And the reason why I was disappointed is because you advocate for education in this city. And as education advocates, I'm sure you do not want all of our schools grossly overcrowded, and that you are for some type of sustained and managed growth. And so when I had a down zoning of a parcel of property, I was disappointed to get a letter, because I've watched other leaders in this council downzone property, and I've not seen a consistent policy issue on that. And I think, I don't know if that's one of your policy issues on that, but that's something that I think that, I don't feel comfortable giving money to the chamber and then they're using this 375 to lobby against something that's going on in my district that they've not consulted me about. And it is contradictory to what you stand for, because if you stand for good schools, great schools, if they're grossly overcrowded, then we need to manage growth. And what tools we have to manage those growth, we should advocate for those as a unit. And so I would hope, next year that you have a consistent policy and really just kind of stay out of those issues, in my opinion, on those things that involve the district. And if you decide not to stay out of them, I think you should consult with the council person and get our feedback and opinion about what's going on before taking a position on it. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. We, on the first two items, we'll do some research and maybe come back to you. We do provide some neighborhood support with regards to our Live It Nashville software website. With regards to your third policy issue, we would like to continue conversation with you. I know that Jennifer is right there in the seat behind us, and we can continue that conversation anytime. And we love to have conversation ahead of time. So thank you.
And if I could just, I know you know this, but if I could just reiterate, the 375 that we're talking about today does not go towards policy. That is a chamber budget, so it's not within the economic development scope. That's Jennifer.
Oh.
I know, so I was going to back there.
Does it pay for any supplies or anything? How do you have? What exactly does that 375 pay for?
It is broken down every year. We fill out a contract with Metro Finance that within categories where it's outlined, where there's definitions. So there's marketing initiatives, there's conferences that we attend. So it's different activities. It's not supplies for, letterhead and things like that.
But marketing, it has your brand on it, and the letterhead your brand on it. So some of that 375 is for that Nashville Chamber brand on the letter that was sent to our email box. So I would say it is included. But what I would hope, is like I said, that you have a consistent policy, whereas it downs on something in West Nashville, then I would like to see that letter come out. If they do it in East Nashville or North Nashville, wherever, I want to see that letter come out. And then the second thing is, I think you should talk to the council person about what's going on in the area before establishing a policy position, because it's not always black and white with regard to things going on. And the thing that I'm challenged with is I hear the chamber is the big school advocate, and I don't, I'm not so confident of that, because I continue to see development happen, and when we try to use tools to manage the development and control it, so that we're not in a position like we're in Southeast Nashville, with schools being over 125%, 114, 104, overcrowded. When we try to manage that growth, then we run up against this. Well, we're against this without even understanding the issue. So I would just hope more courtesy is extended in the future, and I hope this year that we do get a resource, our piece of a resource, instead of maybe skip a conference and let that resource, and I'll be happy to work with them, do some of this work, like Calvary Logistics. When Bob King was looking to move his business out there, he said, do you know of a property? Our Bonatron, several companies have reached out to me, and they're looking for space and things. And I'm like, well, what is the chamber doing? What is your realtor doing? And so, that's their responsibility. They're supposed to be getting paid to do those things. And I would like to be able to say, contact Ralph. He'll help you out. And follow with me if he hasn't, taken care of it. But that's what I would like to see from the chamber with this 375. And if you need 380 to get it done, then just let me know, because I want to be able to pass that off to someone else. Thank you. Thank you,
Councilwoman.
If I can take a moment to thank you for the Chamber's support of the Tennessee Thrives program last year. It makes a difference in a lot of people's lives for that, and I appreciate it. And with that, Angie Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see, my questions are regarding the 375. You mentioned you have a contract with finance where you break all that out. Is that something you can share with us, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. We'll look forward to receiving that. Additionally, my comments or suggestions are somewhat related to what Council Lady Dow was suggesting regarding the Southeast, smaller businesses wanting to locate there, and kind of growing that business community. Ralph, this is something I've shared with you before. I've shared it with Jennifer, and I think I shared it with you last year. But around our area business councils, it kind of is in line with what Chair Van Rees was saying of her Northeast, thank you, all of a sudden Northwest, Northeast area. But consistently, over 17 years of volunteering in a suburban business district, and looking at the effort there to grow a merchants association that would evolve into a business improvement district that would support a lot of these initiatives that are aligned with what the chamber's goals are. So enhanced transit shelters, enhanced kind of sense of identity, wayfinding for our suburban communities. I increasingly see that areas with, frankly, with legacy chambers like Bellevue and Hip Donaldson, they are better positioned now with that structure that is very particular to their community and engage with their community to make that evolution. Whereas areas like West area, right? Too big, too amorphous, not very clear goal setting around what they're trying to achieve there. Some of the smaller, you know, like East, they're pretty intentional and goal oriented and doing some particular initiatives that people get engaged around, like their mural initiative and so forth. So I know that that's, you know, there's the ebb and flow of leadership and who leads those groups, but what I would like to see from the chamber is more intention around and a structure, a toolkit, if you will, for those area advisory councils to say, hey, here's a great little microcosm where you can grow a merchants association, and here's how the chamber can help you do that. We'll help you with the mailing list. We'll help you, we'll facilitate that, right? And they can still be under the umbrella of the area council as needed, but really trying to systematize that, because that is so crucial to, right, the success of these small businesses. If they're just operating in isolation down along their pike in some random location versus providing a sense of identity to that section of that pike or to that suburban business community, you know, rising water lifts all boats kind of thing, you know, when they're more engaged as merchants. And I don't see that as a compete with the chamber at all. I think it's very much aligned with what you all are trying to achieve. And so I've mentioned that last year. I've been saying that to the chamber for many, many years. And so I would just like to hear from your perspective, what's the evolution on that and where you're moving on that?
First of all, the area councils have been created mostly at the request of business members that were in that area and didn't feel they were being served by an established chamber. We're partners with those chambers, 19 of them around this region. I think we would like to see, if you look at our history, we're kind of a spin-off organization, whether it was Sports Council, Entrepreneurs Center, Downtown Partnership, where those initiatives have support and legs. We are happy to spin those off and allow those to be self-standing. I think one of the things I'd like to investigate with you, because I think there is interest in some areas of Davidson County to create that more substantial structure. It is a time-intensive process, both on the part of staff and on the part of volunteers. I'd love to have some conversation and maybe come back with a proposal with regards to funding those kinds of initiatives, to take those most promising groups and allow them to evolve into those chambers, because there is no question that we do different things than those groups do when they take hold. I mean, we see great examples of them around this area. So I'll just conclude by saying it's time intensive for both volunteers and staff. I'd really like to see us get serious about structuring the idea.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will work with Councilmember Henderson on that follow-up. Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here, for the good work you do in the city. I know great work goes on out of Matt's office on ECD, and y'all are partners in that, a lot of that effort, of those efforts. What I do have concerns related to the subsidy, and those concerns relate to the millions of dollars the chamber is indirectly costing the city through its intense focus on school privatization. Taxpayer-funded private schools are going to cost our city more than $110 million this year. And at the same time, for these demand for these schools is tanked, the chamber is continuing to pressure the school board to spend millions of dollars to open more of these schools as recently as in the last 6 months. To go with it, alongside this is the attacks on our school board members. Through your PAC, the chamber spent tens of thousands of dollars attacking school board members, including my own, who are working ridiculous hours to do great things for our children, including mine, for our families, and for our teachers. Chamber leadership has lectured my school board member that she shouldn't go into schools and admonishing her that she does not understand her role as a school board member. And I think this aggression has been all extremely damaging for our city and for our schools. So perhaps instead of raising money for a PAC to attack our elected representatives, the Chamber could encourage those benefactors to put more money toward the good things the Chamber does to enhance our city, the ECD efforts and the other projects y'all are involved in, and that money might even cover that $375,000 our taxpayers are currently paying. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman, thank you for your comments. I would just tell you that the Chamber is in favor of choices for the students that attend our schools, but we don't advocate any particular thrust in that direction. We, as the Chamber works with school board members, our main focus is on governance. How does a school board member govern effectively? Frankly, we spend a lot of time trying not to personalize those conversations. We spend a lot of time trying to advance the idea that the school board as a unit governs the entire school system and that they are not necessarily a representative body, they are a governing body. This is a representative body. So we continue to work with the schools to try to enhance the choice offerings that they have, but we don't advocate for any particular approach to those choices. We believe that the school board itself is both responsible and capable of making those decisions. So just wanted to clarify that point.
The focus has been on privatization throughout, and I would greatly argue with the suggestion that they're not a representative body. When we have a problem at our school, we know to call our school board member, or when the bus doesn't come, or there's a murderer found nearby, like last week, we know that we can turn to that person. We count on her, and they can be most effective when they spend time in our schools. And I think that we should be encouraging that and encouraging them to engage with the community and also to do what they think is best without being subject to very aggressive lobbying to continue to open schools that there frankly just isn't demand for at a time when their budget is strapped, not out of a lack of will locally, but just because the state funds schools the way they are. Those dollars are precious, and the diversion of those funds has been damaging. My school is feeling it. We're struggling as a PTO to put together enough money as a Title I school to put together enough money to do things that used to be school functions, and we're a relatively wealthy school compared to most of it, and they don't need to see those resources drained. So hopefully, I know that the Chamber will be on the attack next year during the school board elections in 2018, but I just hope that it's not quite so ugly. Thank you.
With your permission, I'd love to follow up on this conversation. If that's okay, would love to sit down with you and sort of explain our position on policy governance, which is the system the school board has adopted. I know that we can't cover that territory in this meeting, but would love to continue this conversation if you're willing. Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Vercher.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ralph. You guys, you do a great job for some areas of the city. And I thought the ECD tours, they were really, really great. One of my constituents just texted me, and basically the question is, for suburbia areas, what were you doing before you guys instituted the ECD tours just some months ago? That's my first question.
Okay. So we've always come at the invitation. We've just been more proactive about being sure that we are coming to everyone's district this year. And in fact, that was the idea that Matt had, to make sure that we, especially with a new council, with a fairly new council, to make sure that you all met us and that we knew everything that was available. So I didn't mean to imply that we weren't spending time in the districts. We were relying on, from the commercial real estate perspective, we were relying on, CoStar or the brokers in your districts that market the properties, that they would be uploading those into CoStar, and we just want to make sure that we are covered all ground to make sure that we know which properties are important to you in your district, and that's what we're doing now.
Okay, my second question, from the tours, are you guys going to do a strategic plan from the information that you gathered from the tours, or what are you going to do with the information?
Matt, do you have any comments to make on some of the tours? And
Sure. So we are taking the information mostly from the tours and mostly on individual projects that we're looking at. So, for example, as you know, having been on one of these, it's what improvements do we need to make in public works to make the district more attractive, to this is a site. There was one in your district that I wasn't aware of that was available that we're now marketing towards prospective tenants. So it is more sort of a specific than an overall master strategic plan. It's taking information that we have that we didn't have and using it to operationalize initiatives that we're working on.
Okay, but you indicated earlier that every Friday you do something with the data. I've had property in my district that's commercial that's been vacant for years. So obviously it never got on anyone's radar, not until we did the ECD tour. And we can split hairs over that. The other part, the allocation that you're requesting, is any of that funding used for lobbying, or is it just specifically in the realm of economic development?
it is not. It is in the realm of economic development.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Looks like Council Member Karen Johnson is up next.
Thank you, Chair Van Rees. Thank you, Ralph, all of you at the Chamber for all of the work that you do. I do have some questions here for the first time, actually, because usually I can get information rather easily, but I do have some concerns, and that is on the publications that come out, like the ones that you've given us today, the publications that market different areas of the city. I would like to see the chamber team work with the council members a little better so that we can ensure that our areas are being marketed within these publications appropriately. I'm still dissatisfied with the information that highlights Southeast Nashville and the little pockets of beauty that we have, whether that be historic Una, the Cane Ridge area, the area, the Mill Creek area, the Priest Lake area. See, all of us are saying the same thing. That's a concern for me. And I think that we are dependent upon activity coming into our areas based on how they're marketed. And I think that we are missing opportunities because the feedback, since we're on the ground in this area, is not being factored into those publications. The other thing was, I wanted to see about the councils, like the South Area Council, all of the councils that Council Lady Van Rees mentioned. Can I get a breakdown of the number of members for each of those councils? And is it permissible to release the list of the businesses also that match that number? I don't know what you can disclose and what you can.
Well, typically, we will list members of the chamber in a directory, in our directory, and they can opt for that to appear in various places or not. But certainly sharing that information with you is easy to do.
Okay. And then you just mentioned that you work with the brokers who market our districts. Can we get a list of those brokers by council district that you work with?
So what I was referring to is commercial real estate brokers. So those that, sure, if you have a property that's being listed by a private commercial real estate broker, I'm happy to pull, for instance, in CoStar, properties in your district, and every one of them is attached to a real estate broker. If there's one representing that property, if it's not a private sale, I'm happy to send that to you.
I've talked to Matt about this a lot as well, so he knows this is something that I would like to receive, and that is I want to know who are the people that are marketing our areas. They make or break us in terms of the goals that we would like to achieve for our constituents. And so I would be interested in knowing who are those brokers that are in conversations with the chamber that market our area.
Happy to send that to you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to call the previous question. Actually, the point of that was I'm just trying to figure out what you all are doing here. And maybe this is a bigger question, and it should go to the chairman of the finance committee. But just real quick, you're unlike any other, and I think he stepped out or he's in the back, but you're unlike any other entity that comes before us. And so I really don't even want a response. I think I just want to put it on the wish list. I understand people's concerns. I understand concerns about education, all the other stuff, but there's a time and a place probably for that outside of the budget hearing, because it's different from, you're different from any other entity that's on our list. And so I think I'm going to request that maybe next year you don't come back. I hear people screaming in the back, but it may be at some point that there's a better place to argue this, because if we had every other entity that we granted money to, we'd never get through this budget. You're just, when I look through this list, you're different from any other organization. So no need for a response. I'm just trying to figure out if there's a better way to do this. Thank you.
I think they are nearly as effective as the Music City Center in regard to their request. And with that, Mr. Mendez, you have the last word.
Thanks. I'm glad to have the last word. Sort of along the same vein, I wanted to, I think the reason is because the Chamber is part of a really important public-private partnership between Metro and the Chamber. And on balance, I don't think there's any question that the work that the Chamber does is good for the city and the entire community. And I appreciate y'all sort of willing to take the critiques that come along with being involved in a public-private partnership. Certainly, I'm sure it's not always fun to hear the critiques, and I do appreciate you guys trying to find the balance between big business, small business, the inner part of the city, the outer part of the city, and stretch the budget dollars coming from our citizens as far as possible. And I support this. I think it's valuable for the city, and I want to make sure to both appreciate you guys being willing to take the critiques that come with being involved in a public-private partnership, and also encourage you to keep working hard to find the best balance possible to stretch that money as far as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hurt, did you still have a question? You have a comment?
And today, I understand, is the first anniversary of Belinda Darden, one of your employees. And I just wanted to give her a shout out. She's excellent.
We think so, too.
Thank you very much. Yes, if we'll let you have the last word.
I really do want to thank all of you for participating in this discussion. And Councilman Mendez, with yours as the last comment, we actually appreciate the critique. We don't believe we can function as a partner with you unless we're hearing straightforward from you what's on your mind. So we're always happy to appear when requested, but we do view this as an important partnership, and that communication is key. So thank all of you for your time.
Thank you very much.